what would you say like the most difficult part of that process
well, the most difficult lately has been satisfying the client, because when you at ESPN. All right, have you ever seen Office Space? It's an old movie.
I'd love to say I have.
Okay, so there's a joke in the movie where the main guy, I think he says he has 8 bosses. Well, I have probably 40 bosses. It's something like that, and I don't even get to like most of them normally, because my stuff is getting approved by like 5 levels above me, and there's a lot more beyond that, because there's the head of Disney. I don't ever have to do anything for Bob Chapek. There's a few levels down, you get the head of ESPN. I don't ever really have to do anything for them, although we actually did just do something for Bob Chapek for the XFL, but that's besides the point. There's like 17 layers before you get to him. But I do have to produce stuff for the sport group, the sport leader, my CCU managers, and then there's the feature manager, and then me, and I have to be that first level of finalizing and making the decisions, and then it goes beyond. And working on a sport like the NHL, there was a lot of layers that I wasn't used to, and that one was a little bit tougher. So finalizing and getting it so that they're happy. That's why I said making the client happy is most important. When I would do Little League, and the days were really long, on top of all that, I had the safety of the kids that I had to be concerned with. When you're shooting with kids, it's a lot more complicated. I dropped Travis Pastrana off of a 30-foot truss that we built. I wasn't as scared for him as I was when I had kids dancing on a floor in cleats. Because if one of those kids fell, you're just so in trouble. And that actually happened, but I wasn't there that day. But that's what I'm saying. So like that's another layer. But generally, there's not really a hardest part aside from satisfying the client.
All right. And you were talking about all these layers, like the 17 layers, like Bob Chapek. So like, where do you want to take your career in the future? Like, do you want to raise in the ranks, or?
That's a difficult question because of what I do. There's not, unless I'm running the unit, like I don't have the aspirations to be running ESPN. I don't have the aspirations to be running Disney. I'm in the creative area that I want to be in. So I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been in TV. What year are we in?
2022.
2022. So I started working, my first year in TV was 1995. And so I've done a lot in that time. And I've gotten to the point where now I'm kind of picking what I'm working on, and I'm doing the things that I'm passionate about. I mean, they said to me, do you want to work on the XFL this year? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I had a lot of fun. We had the XFL for a little bit before the pandemic hit, and then the XFL went away, and we got it back. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson bought it and is like in charge of it. I'm just really excited to work with him and the XFL. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that was a no-brainer that I wanted to do that. Last year they said, do you want to work on hockey again? I was like, absolutely. So I got to work on hockey. I'm at a point now where I'm doing what I want to do. So there's not really an advancement above what I'm doing without quote unquote getting out of the chair. Like it's just management. Management's boring. I'm a creative person, so I don't really want to stop being creative. I'm not ready for that. But there's And there is also a part of me that I actually looked into working at Lucasfilm or looked into working at Marvel and doing something like that, working on a movie, because there's a lot of times where I watch, a movie or watch a TV show, and I'm like, I could do that. I make TV shows. I've made full TV shows before. I know what that takes, and I think that could be kind of fun. That's a step that, would be fun to do. There are people from ESPN that have gone on to make movies and make like other TV shows. So that would be like, I guess, if you're talking about like a dream, maybe that's it. If Marvel is out there listening, Kevin Feige, I would be willing to, go over and produce Secret Wars if you'd like. It's fine.
If you have to.
Yeah, I would do the next Spider-Man movie, whatever you got. But yeah, I know that they're building, other universes in Star Wars. I'm available.
What was your favorite project that you worked on?
My favorite project. Well, I mentioned Little League, so that was probably the biggest challenge that I ever had. Where like a lot of bosses. So my boss at the time, so he was the coordinating producer for Little League. He had this far-fetched idea that he wanted to create a theme park that was Little League. That was about Little League, and I was like, how am I going to do that? And so I actually had quite a bit of time. So I actually started working on it in April of 2012, I think it was, and I had 4 months to secure a theme park. Actually, at one point, they wanted me to do it at Disney. Disney was talking because we were supposed to have. Does anybody here know who Ross Powers is? Ross Powers, R5. Does that mean anything to anyone? Okay, he was popular on Disney at the time. He's in a show. I think he was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and I don't know. Anyway, he was the Disney star. And they wanted him to sing the song that we had written. Like Disney wrote a song for us, and they wanted him to sing it. And so they wanted him to perform it, and they wanted us to fly to Disneyland to do it. And we would have done our theme park shoot at Disney. Well, that was going to cost way too much. Light Compounds was a lot cheaper. And Ross ended up not doing it, and our R5. And so we ended up getting some other band to do it. That was a whole fiasco in and of itself because the band didn't actually know how to play instruments, but that's besides the point. But so I had to get the park, and I had to come up with the themes, and I had to come up with the games, and I had to come up with the shoot schedule, and I had to come up with putting out an all call for kids, and it was a lot of work. That was probably the hardest I've ever worked on a piece. And by the way, so we had the 3 days of shooting. Every single day, there was an 80% chance of rain. And I'm a Star Wars fan. If you know Han Solo, never tell me the odds. Well, that was how I was. I was like, don't tell me the percentages. We're gonna shoot. We're gonna get it, and it's gonna be great. We finished the last shot, and I'm telling you, within 5 minutes, the skies ripped open and it started pouring, and we were done. And it was fantastic. And it worked out great. And one of my proudest moments at ESPN. So that was probably my favorite. Getting to produce the Open to the Indy 500 to me is a really big deal. Like growing up, I wasn't a racing fan. I didn't really care about racing. But I knew what the Indy 500 was. You just know that it's like, that's a big race. You just know it's a big deal. And I went to the Indy 500 in 2008, and I got to work on it. And I don't think you don't understand what 300,000 people in one place with extremely loud cars feels like until you're there. And it is the single most thrilling experience that you can have in sports. Our TV compound is in the middle of the track, so the cars are going around where you are. to actually hear, you have to wear headphones in the truck to be able to actually hear what you're doing. It's phenomenal, so much fun. So when they gave me the opportunity to produce the Open, I was nervous, excited, and it was one of the greatest experiences of my career was getting to produce that, and I did it 5 times, and we won some awards, and we won an editing award for it. It was just really exciting, and then X Games is always holds a special place in my heart. I did. I don't know. I did something like 20-something X Games between winter and summer, and so getting a chance to do some of the so everybody like knows what a GoPro is now, and everyone has like 360 cameras and all that stuff. Well, when I was starting on X Games, that stuff didn't exist. I'm really proud of the fact that a lot of the things that you see now that are super easy are things that we just came up with, and so there was we created a GoPro when it didn't exist, and so we took a weightlifting belt and a pole that we wired to the back of the weightlifting belt and put a tiny camera on the back of it and just like held it on there, hoping that it didn't fall, a little like camcorder camera, and hit record, and we put it on the back of a skier and had him go down the hill. And that was our chance to try to get some POV. And like, now it's just like super easy on it with a GoPro, right? Just strap it on, move, and do it. Well, we had to come up with that stuff. I wanted to know what it looked like to have a snowmobile do a backflip and land on the snow. So we buried a camera in the snow. I took so Travis Pastrana, he does the double backflip. He would practice into a foam pit. So we hollowed out a foam block and we put a camera inside, and Travis, bless him, did it over and over and over until he landed on that camera. But we got the shot. Like, we did stuff like that. We hung a camera over. We put like 2 C stands, like those stands. We put 2 C stands up like 25 feet, and then put a pole across and hung a camera on the landing of a jump, and had Travis doing backflips and tricks to the camera. It was like one of the most amazing shots because drones didn't exist back then, and there was no other way to get that shot. We had to be really creative to get some stuff, and now it's like so easy. It's like, oh, well, let's get a $50 drone, or just get a GoPro. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Well, we didn't have that back then, and so I was really proud that I think that a lot of the things that we were doing back then influenced, like, people were like, well, that's silly. We're not going to build a camera on a weightlifting belt. Let's just build a camera that you can wear. And that stuff, that technology came, I know, because they were seeing the shots and saying, well, we want to be able to recreate that. How are we going to do that? And so I'm very proud of that fact.
Wow. So you were talking about awards, right? And that you've won some awards, and I don't want to talk about that so much. So, like, what kind of awards have you won?
Well, I mean, I've got 3 Emmys, which is the biggest award you can win in TV is an Emmy. I've won 3 Emmys for college football work that I've done. So I'm really proud of this. It was a college sports award that I won for a tease that I did for the College World Series, just baseball. In 2009 and 2010, we had the 2 last years of Rosenblatt Stadium, which was where they played the College World Series for 60 years. And it was in the same ballpark for 60 years, and they were going to shut it down. It was a whole big controversy because they were moving it to this fancy new ballpark across town, and it was being ripped out of the neighborhood, and they thought that it was going to kill Omaha. It was a whole thing. It was a lot of controversy, and we did a lot of pieces about that part of it too. But the biggest thing was that everyone loved Rosenblatt Stadium, and I'd only seen it for 2 years, and I loved it. I loved the stadium. I loved what it meant to that town. I loved so much about it. And we got the opportunity to, what do I call, shut it down. And we did the last open in Rosenblatt, and then the rollout to the College World Series that year. And there was a couple of people on our crew that actually grew up in Omaha. And one of them, Erica, I was standing next to her as the rollout was playing, and she was bawling. And I felt very proud of that I was able to touch someone that it meant so much to. And that won a college sports award for best tease. I actually won an editing award, so one of my friends, who's an editor, he was one of the guys that works down in DC. He likes to tease me and call me not an editor, but I'm a predator. And he goes, well, you're a predator, so that means you're a producer editor. Well, which one are you good at? You're good at both of them. Well, I won an editing award for a piece that I did for X Games on, it was the kids of skate. It was all these like 12, 13, and 14-year-old kids at the time. Now they're like all big stars and old, and I probably retired by now. But I did a piece on them, and it won an editing award. It was like, I don't know, I learned a lot from the people that I worked with. So like my friend Glenn, who I would edit with, or Adam, who was the one that would tease me. I learned a lot from the people that I edited with by watching what they do and techniques that they used, like a speed ramp. Do you know what a speed ramp is? It's when you take a piece of video, it starts off slow, speeds up, and then slows down again. It's a really cool effect, and I loved it, and I used it in that piece, and like one of my friends would call me Speed Curve because I used it a lot, but it was just a fun effect. And so like little things like that I picked up over the years, and I became a pretty, I don't know, solid editor. And I got an award, so I've always been really proud of that I won that one. And those, I don't know, I don't really like to talk about awards. That's not really what I do it for. And honestly, like the one that I really wanted, I didn't get, which I really wanted to win an Emmy for one of those Indy 500 teases. And also, when we did the teases for the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2003, I was really proud of those. And that didn't win, and I thought it really would. But generally, a lot of that stuff, it goes to like the Olympics and Super Bowl and those little shows. So it's hard when you have to compete with them. I want to say thank you. I really, I'm really excited that you guys are doing this. I got my start in this business in a group just like this. And you guys think that, well, this is just, some summer gig or whatever, but this is where my love of TV started, is something like this.
Thank you so much for being here. Once again, I'm Finley. I had a great time interviewing you.
Well, I had a great time being interviewed by you.
Thank you.